Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is Xbox Ultimate episode number 5. My name is Mav. We got a lot to talk about this week. There has been a lot going on the last couple days without a lot of news, but still a lot of talk. So this may be a little bit longer of an episode than usual just because of the amount of drama going on right now. So, we're going to be talking about potential price for Series X and Series S with some fun speculation about that, right? We're going to be talking about why has there not been gameplay being shown on the Series X and why everybody's talking about it, and is that a problem? We've seen games running but not actually running on the Series X, so that's going to be a lot of what we talk about here because this is driving the internet crazy right now. Also, we're going to be talking about some of the launch lineup games and go into some more information on Halo and some other stuff. So let's jump right into that. All right. So first, I want to talk about our fun speculation of the week. So our fun speculation of the week is the price of the Series X. When the Series S is officially announced, what is the price going to be of that? So the reason I'm bringing that up this week is because I think that announcement is coming very soon. And what I mean by very soon is possibly within a week or so, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But the price. So a lot of people are running the gamut on this thing, right? So I'm on one end of it by far, on one end of the spectrum. Other people are way on the other end of the spectrum, and then there's a lot of people in the middle here. So I've seen speculation on the price being as high as $799, right? And I've seen speculation on the price of the Series X being as low as $399, with most people saying either $499 or $599. Now those two may be the most realistic. That's seems like fair value for what you're getting as far as power and everything in that box. All the specs that were announced, everything that was revealed seems like, $599 is a fair price. But if they're trying to be competitive, they would go at $499. So that's kind of what's been driving a lot of that talk, right? Because if you were to build a PC of those specifications, you're probably near $1,000, but it still doesn't have everything built the way that it is built for the Series X because it's custom, right? So, I have my own personal thoughts and I have my reasons for it. Now, I'm probably wrong. That's why it's fun speculation and not spreading a rumor or saying that I know something. I'm just an average guy that likes to play video games. I like to think about this stuff and I like to talk about it. And I've come up to my own reasonings why I think this could be the case. And I've had my prediction up on Twitter pinned to the top of my Twitter account at Fun Speculation for a while now. So what I personally think is that the Series X will be $399. Now, don't bash me if I'm wrong, because I know it's a crazy thought, okay? But it's what I actually think. Now, I'll be wrong, and then I'll lose the little credibility I had, which was none, so I don't care. But hear me out on this, okay? The reason I started thinking about this was because of the business model that Xbox has, okay? So Xbox has the subscription service model, right? Where they're basically going for, we want to have this Game Pass and we want as many people to get access to that Game Pass as possible. Okay, so they're having it on as many devices as possible. Okay, but still the primary platform that people associate with Xbox is the console. So that's a transition of getting people to think outside of console for Xbox, right? Most PC gamers use Steam, most mobile users use either the Google Play Store or they'll use that, the Apple App Store or whatever. So, those are kind of what people are used to. Now, to spread this narrative and talk about Xbox Game Pass and how good of a value it is, they need a lot of people to have it. And they need a lot of people to have it immediately. Now, people are going to have access to it on the other devices, but that doesn't necessarily immediately drive sales. What drives sales is talk, right? What drives sales is, your brother or brother-in-law or cousin or friend or dad or son or whoever, or wife or sister, daughter, whoever it is, saying, hey, have you checked this out? It's a crazy value, right? Well, the large majority of their user base is on Xbox consoles, and you want to get those people talking. So you want to get those people playing the next generation games on console. If you come out with a console and it's $5.99, and the other console out there is also $5.99 or whatever, you're gonna limit the amount of people that are going to have access to that within the next year or two, right? You want to have it in as many people's hands as possible. So as a company, are you willing to take that immediate hit for a year or two, a company like Microsoft, when you know the reward is potentially getting all these subscriptions locked in? So if all these subscriptions get locked in, with all these people that keep acquiring these consoles, you're not only making the $3.99, right? You're also making the $14.99 if they subscribe to Ultimate a month, right? So let's say I buy a console. It's $3.99, comes with a month free of Game Pass Ultimate. I buy it. I start checking out these games, and the third-party games run better on this console because it's more powerful. I start experimenting with the xCloud because I have a free subscription now. Just like they're doing with the Samsung purchases, they're getting a free trial, right? So if I start trying this xCloud thing out, then I can start talking about it. And you're more likely to try it if you get it for free, right? You go over to the PC where you say, okay, well, I already got Game Pass. I'm going to check out some PC games because I don't really play that many PC games, right? This is going to breed new gamers that have never really experienced games on different platforms before and get to try different games also. So it's an avenue to get people interested in different games. So it's growing the ecosystem, it's growing the environment, it's growing the economy of games on the Xbox platform. So to do that, but you need to get those consoles in people's hands. Now, one way they're doing it is that Xbox, I think it's called Xbox All Access, where you pay a monthly fee to get the console and you get all of that stuff as well. But I don't know how mainstream that's going to be yet. We don't know if that's going to be how available it's going to be for everybody. So also, if it's $6.99, do you want to be paying that for how long, right? So I think $3.99 is crazy, but if you're in the business to win this thing long term, if you're in the business to win this thing for the future, if you're in the business to grow the business as fast as you possibly can, as good as you possibly can, you're going to go $3.99. You're going to take that hit initially to get the long-term rewards. And they've done this before. They've done this before with consoles. It's not a crazy thing. When the PS4 came out and they said those magic words, $3.99, and then the Xbox One was out there at $4.99 and it came with the Kinect that nobody cared about, right? Then you got the more powerful console, which was the PS4 at the time. Now it's not anymore since the mid-gen refresh, but you had the more powerful console at the cheaper price. At the time when the transition was changing, Xbox 360 may have been the more anticipated. I mean, not 360. The Xbox One could have potentially been the more anticipated console because of how strong the 360 was. They did go through a dry spell at the end of the 360 era, and that transferred into the Xbox One era. But people were hyped. They had a lot of deals with third-party companies, like they had Titanfall exclusive. They had all these deals in place, and the console wasn't selling as well as the PS4 because the PS4 was more powerful and the PS4 was cheaper. They had a clearer message. So whenever they announced this price, if they actually pulled what the PS4 did last generation and were cheaper and also more powerful, it's going to be hard to for a lot of people to pass up on that. And I think they need that now because of all this talk out there is so positive on the PS5 right now. And there's a lot of negativity about the Series X because of the Halo delay. So that's another reason I think they could be potentially at $399, because they know that they need another incentive to get people to get that console. And the third reason is because they discontinued the Xbox One X. Now, people might say, why does that matter? Well, the Xbox One X was priced at $399. So you can't have two SKUs out there the same price, and it wouldn't make sense for them to drop the Xbox One X price below $399 because there are other SKUs filling those gaps already. So if you have two consoles coming out, the Series X at $399, and you have the Series S potentially $249, right? You would then have the One S all digital at $199, the Series S at $249, the Series X at $399, right? So you don't have as many SKUs, and you have the price gaps filled. Unless the Series S is the one that's $399 or close to $399, I don't know what the point would be of discontinuing the One X right now, because it was still a popular console. It still is the most powerful console currently out right now. Well, you can't get it now, unless you get one. I find one somewhere or get one used or something. So the $399 to me makes sense. Again, honestly, $499 makes sense too, and so does $599. I could make an argument for all three. My heart wants $399, so that's why it's fun to speculate about it, right? How crazy it would be if when they announced these consoles, they came out and they said, Series X, get it, November 7th, $399. That would send shockwaves through the internet. It would generate hype. People would be talking about how the most powerful console is the cheaper console, unless the PS5 matched that price, which I don't think there's any way they're going to. We'll see. I could be wrong. So moving on from that, let me know what you guys think about that. I know most likely it's $499, $599 probably, but what do you think about that $399 price point? Do you think it's possible? Do you think that my justifications in my head actually make sense, or am I just wishing too much? So let me know what you think about that. Moving on to that, so we're gonna talk about what everybody has been screaming about here the last couple days. There's been arguments on Twitter. There's been a lot of debate back and forth. There's been people saying this is a huge problem, this is alarming, this is disturbing. Then there's been people saying this doesn't matter at all. This is not a big deal, right? There's reasons for this that, there's not a real problem behind it, right? So this issue that's been going on is the fact that there's been no actual Series X footage shown of games running actually on the Series X hardware on any of these promotional videos or trailers or anything like that. And what's been driving that talk was the Call of Duty reveal I think that happened on Wednesday, where they revealed Call of Duty Cold War. And then the Gamescom, when they had Ratchet and Clank shown, and that was also running on PS5 hardware, and it actually said in letters boldly captured on PS5. Now, before these two things were shown, nobody was really talking about this. They mentioned it occasionally, like, hey, this is something we should be looking into, or like what's going on with this. But the last 2 days, because of this really impressive PS5 footage, people are freaking out about the Series X. Now, my personal thoughts on this, okay? Now, this is an opinion. It's not, don't take anything I say as fact. But to me, it's not a problem. I go back and I remember past generations of console releases, and the fact, I remember the same talk going on back when the Xbox One and the PS3 were about to be, announced. And people were freaking out because I think at E3 they had all these gameplay demos and stuff, and then people were talking about how they're actually running on PCs, they're not running on consoles, and people were freaking out about that kind of stuff. And then they kind of went in more detail, and people were realizing, okay, well, this is how games are developed. They're developed primarily using PC kits and stuff, and then they're, kind of put on the console, get them up and running on the consoles and stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm not super tech nerd guy that understands all the specifications, but I remember history, kind of, right? I remember some of these things, and I remember seeing all these games always shown and gameplay demos done at E3 in the past, and other things where they're running on PCs, not actual consoles, and that seems pretty commonplace in the industry. So, am I freaking out about that? No. I don't think it's a problem. I think the Series X is going to actually be able to play games. I don't think for some reason that it's going to not play games as well as the PS5, just because we haven't seen the games running. Now, where people that have a point with this is that it doesn't send the right message. And this is a marketing thing, okay? It's not necessarily a problem with, hey, it's not capable of doing it, because we know the games are coming out for the device, and we know what the specifications are. So we know what it's capable of if you compare it to other things that have those specifications, like a PC, So we know what we know. And to think that a console would come out that's just not playing games well because they didn't show it beforehand up to this point is not, it's a little naive, right? So let's say you have Call of Duty. Let's say that Microsoft had the marketing rights, would that have said captured on Xbox Series X? We don't know, because what we do know is that PS5 dev kits have been out way far in advance. But the reasoning behind that, people are saying, is because the PS5 was rumored to potentially have come out last year, but they pushed it back. So the PS5 dev kits were in hands longer than usual before a console launch. Now, that may actually be a good thing for PS5 games and getting this development and potential launch games ready. Whereas the Series X had more of a traditional time frame of when the actual dev kits got to the developers, and the games may have not been as far along to create the marketing material when they were created, right? They didn't necessarily a couple days ago capture this gameplay on a PS5, right? It could have been done months ago. So we don't know all the details on how these trailers are created, what company actually made the trailers, who recorded the gameplay on the, a lot more goes into it. But that is marketing. Okay. Where the problem is with the Series X and the Xbox is just their marketing and messaging, because Sony controls the narrative. People are all talking about Xbox. If you go on PlayStation forums, or if you go on PlayStation fans' Twitters and you watch PlayStation YouTube videos, they're talking about the Xbox. So Sony is controlling the narrative of both consoles, and by doing that, they can kind of spin things how they want to. And they're masters at this. They're masters at putting out videos and content that are going to create a narrative, and they shed light on things purposefully, it seems, or they know what Microsoft's weaknesses are and they exploit that on purpose. If you just go back like to 2013, when the guys were, this is how you share games, and the guy hands a game over to the other guy, right? It just is like a huge slap in the face to Xbox. And then they say, oh, and it's $399 and it's more powerful. Why do you think that PS4 way outsold the Xbox One last generation? It's genius. You are creating the narrative that one thing is weak, one thing is overpriced, one thing is now it's one thing can't play games, right? Or one thing isn't ready yet because there's no games being shown on it. So just the fact that had intentionally probably asked these guys to make sure they put capture on PS5, or the developers did it themselves or whatever, they know that that's going to happen. They put an emphasis on making sure that these kind of things are shown. Xbox, on the other hand, when they had their chance to show something, it was their one big egg in the basket, and that was Halo. And they decided to show it in its rough form on a mid-level dev kit that was the PC debug kit or something like that. And it was on a slightly old build where they knew that they had these technical problems, and they even said they were expecting bad feedback. So you never want, as a marketing, now they're trying to be straightforward and just show what's what, right? And that's kind of what Phil Spencer's attitude is. But with this hype of this next gen stuff coming, right? You're trying to say, this is what's capable on the Series X. This is why you need to buy it. You should know that your stuff is going to be picked apart to a degree that it usually isn't, especially if you're Xbox, when you have something to prove compared to last gen. When for instance, so far Sony, all they've showed up to now is the Miles Morales screenshot, right? That, who knows exactly how that was captured, but they wanted to show ray tracing in its best light. So they specifically chose that screenshot. If Xbox had waited, let's say, until their price reveal and put together a better Halo Infinite demo, where after a couple more months of development, potentially, would it have shown better? Would we have had the backlash? We don't know that, because we don't know what condition it would be in. But we do know that they did what they did do, and it created a narrative. Now, when Sony's going and they're doing what they're doing, they're making sure they don't make those mistakes. They don't make those mistakes. They put out only what they want you to see, and they put an emphasis on making sure they put out stuff that's super high quality for marketing purposes. And that is driven towards the hardcore gamers, the guys that care about this stuff more than anybody else. It's not for the average casual person that doesn't know. But what the average casual person does is they go on the internet and they Google something. And if you Google something and you just type in Halo Infinite, or if you type in, Xbox Series X, and you see all these articles and all this stuff on Twitter where people are questioning things and saying like, oh, this can't run games, no gameplay captured on Series X so far shown. And then you see this stuff, PS5, Ratchet and Clank looks amazing, Call of Duty captured on PS5. It spreads this narrative that's on all these articles, on this websites, on Twitter, everywhere. And it paints one thing negatively and it paints one thing positively. Xbox needs to get better at this. They need to learn what to show, because the hardcore guys may not be the mass number of sales that they're going for, but they're the ones that spread the message. They're the ones that create the conversation. They're the ones that create the talk. They're the ones that generate the hype. And until Xbox actually starts putting out marketing material that caters to some of that audience, then this is going to continue. And I'm not talking about guys like me, because I see through that stuff. I know what they have in development. I know that all these games that they have for Game Pass coming, like that they announced at the Game Showcase, that I'm blown away that they're making these games. And I know the studios that are making them, and I know what they're capable of. I know that, what Playground did with Forza Horizon 3 and 4 and all the Forza Horizon games, and that they're going to be the ones making the new Fable, and what was shown in that trailer and how that might translate to the game. I understand what Obsidian is and how they made Fallout New Vegas, and how they also made games in the past like Alpha Protocol and other great RPGs that a lot of people have a love for, Pillars of Eternity, you can go on and their track record, right? I understand who that is. Joe Schmo, a guy that just was like, hey, should I get a Series X or PS5? I don't know. I need to get one for my son. And he Googles the stuff. He doesn't know that stuff. If I go into my dad's house with all my family there and I start talking about Obsidian, they're like, who's Obsidian? So you need to spread guys like me and like other people that make stuff like this, or the people that actually spread the talk about it and spread the narrative, and that gets out to more people and more people. So far, I don't have much of an audience at all, but eventually I hope so. But other guys do, and this narrative that's out there spreads this stuff in a way that Sony is intentionally trying to do, and Xbox isn't good at countering. So we'll see what they do. This is part of the reason why I want them to be at $399, because if they were at $399, that alone would just be like crazy, That's why I want both consoles to come out on the same day. I want all this talk to happen. It'll just be bananas, I want all of this hype to be generated around video games in general. So I think Xbox needs to get better in marketing to be able to have, when you Google stuff or when you just type something in, more positive stuff down the timeline, right? More positive results, instead of these little articles that are discussing something that doesn't even really actually exist. There is no problem with games being able to be ran on the Series X. It's just that they didn't put out any trailers that they emphasize, hey, you need to make sure this thing you get running on a Series X, and you could, if you wanted to invest in making sure that happened, you could do that. But they haven't chosen to do that yet. And but because PlayStation did, the same week they had two things show up, this narrative is now being discussed where all this negativity comes out, and Xbox didn't do anything themselves to create that. They just missed the boat on not doing something, right? So is there a problem, guys? No, there's not a problem. It's pretty normal, commonplace. Is there a problem with Xbox marketing? There has been for a long time. And it's not things like the games. They're good at promoting individual games when, like, right before they come out. They're good at investing in trailers. They're good at putting out the stuff on Twitter, and they're really good at marketing Game Pass. Game Pass is the thing they've marketed the best. But it's all they're bad at sending messages to create narrative. Sony is a master at that. Master class. 100%. So hopefully they get better with that, but it is what it is right now. You know, all this talk about it actually being a problem is just like kind of, it's funny because you just see through it, you know, and I can't wait to see what they show next. So getting where this also leads to some credibility is the launch lineup. Okay, so part of the reason why they have these things to show is one was the marketing deal with Call of Duty, right? So that's why they showed that on the PS5. Xbox, they went and they chose Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and that was way back in May when they showed that trailer, that gameplay. So the gameplay trailer, if you want to call it gameplay. So it's not, you know, you can't really necessarily compare apples to apples because people would mostly say that, you know, Assassin's Creed Valhalla just doesn't look that impressive graphically in general right now, you know? So where Call of Duty does, if let's say the roles were reversed and the games were switched, you know, it would be the opposite talk. So that's another thing, you know, PlayStation chose the right game there to have the marketing partnership with. They put up more money or whatever. I don't know how those deals come together, but so, you know, we got these launch games coming now. So, like Ratchet and Clank was just confirmed that it's within the launch window. So that's another reason why you have this gameplay potentially being shown for that, whereas on the Series X you don't have, you know, gameplay being shown yet because, you know, the launch window. You know, Xbox was counting all in on Halo, and Halo is not there at the launch window anymore. So they have to rethink their whole next thing they were going to do because I'm sure it revolved heavily on Halo. So what are they going to put there instead? That's what's going on at Microsoft right now. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to delay the console because they don't have that Halo there for it. You know, you don't launch the hardware because you don't have a piece of software. And Phil Spencer's already alluded to this before in an interview with Ryan McCaffrey. You know, he's hinted to the fact that there could be software issues because of coronavirus and the pandemic and stuff, but the hardware is where it needs to be. And he didn't foresee a situation where software would cause hardware to be delayed. And as far as we know, everything is on track with hardware. You know, it's being made right now. So we don't have anything to worry about there. But where there is a hole is in the launch lineup. Now, this also goes into the same issues, right? Because, you know, we know that the PlayStation has Ratchet and Clank around launch window. You know, we know that they have the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, which maybe or may not be a glorified expansion, you know. But I'm sure that game's going to be great, right? And then we also have Demon Souls was said that they were planning on hitting around launch also, the Demon Souls remake. So that's 3 pretty strong games. When you take Halo out of the equation now for the Series X, that's another marketing blunder because they could have made sure, you know, 3 years ago that they invested in more properties or more development to make sure that they at least had 1 or 2 more games for launch, right? Right now they have the Medium is going to be a timed exclusive, and that's supposed to hit in December. You know, we have Gears Tactics is supposed to be coming to Series X, so we'll see if that is there at launch. I'm not sure exactly. I could probably look that up and find out. You know, there's Crossfire X is supposed to be on the Series X around launch. I'm sure I'm missing a few things, you know, but if you go through those and then you go through, you know, what PS5 has shown, and they've actually shown gameplay of one of those games we're actually running. You know, it's like, okay, you know, people that are on the fence right now are leaning more towards PS5 because they have something that they know they're going to enjoy right away. So if Microsoft would have said, okay, we need to put an emphasis on this, even if it's not, Fable or Avowed or any of these other massive franchises that they have, some of the stuff that they're doing for Sony, they're not massive games. One's a remake of Demon's Souls, and they're getting a third-party developer to make that, right? I think it's Blue Point is who's making that. So they also got a Ratchet and Clank game, and they got a Miles Morales Spider-Man game that's kind of like a game 1.5 type thing, right? They say kind of like Uncharted Lost Legacy. So those aren't 3 massive things, but they're things that Sony made sure that they had around launch of the console. So, we got the medium. We'll see. I think they need to market these things better. I don't know exactly what they need to do, but right now in the narrative department on the internet, PlayStation's killing Xbox. When Xbox was heading so strong into this next gen launch with being so upfront and transparent and showing so much, and then what happened was the May next gen gameplay reveal kind of fumbled because they didn't actually have a lot of gameplay to show, even though I think that event is a lot better than some of the other events that we've seen. Then we had the Halo Infinite reveal at the Xbox Game Showcase where that got torn apart. Personally, I think that game looked like it was going to be really good because I was excited about what I saw from the gameplay perspective. Graphically, I think it could definitely be improved. You could fix the pop-in stuff. Aesthetically, I thought it looked good, but the fidelity could have definitely been enhanced, and I think they could have done it if it was just that by launch. But we know that there are some issues going on there because they made a point to bring one of the founders of Halo, one of the main creators of Halo, probably the guy that's most influential of the story of Halo, on board to help right the ship for launch of Halo. And that's Joe Staten. My personal opinion is that him and Marty O'Donnell may be the 2 most influential people in actually creating what we know of as Halo. And they already had Joe Staten at Microsoft for a while now. They decided to move him over to 343 to help with that game, to get it on track. Would they have done that if they didn't feel the need to? No. They want to make sure that things start going in the right direction. So that means they think that they need somebody that is familiar with the franchise, that is familiar with being a high up at the franchise that makes Halo games to help right the ship. So personally, I think that also goes into the fact that I don't think this is an early 2021 game. To bring somebody on board like that where he could actually have any kind of influence and change, you would need to make it probably late 2021 at least. So I think it's the next holiday game, and to me, Halo is a holiday game anyway. So I predict Halo as of right now will be 2021 a holiday, and if it doesn't come out then they're going to go through some massive change with what we know that Halo Infinite is, and it'll be a different game than we saw at the gameplay reveal. So, we'll see what they do with that. Joe Staten, I trust with Halo. My dream would be if they, somehow convince Marty O'Donnell to come over there and join the team, and they can team up, and because I think from what I've seen on the interviews and everything, they kind of have like a difference of opinion at times, and sometimes that butting of heads kind of creates gems, and that's definitely what I think Halo was. So, Joe Staten going there is big, and that, it does take Halo Infinite away from us for now, but it also does prove that Xbox is invested in making sure that they get things right. Now, sometimes I think they back down too much because they're just saying, hey, we see all this negativity and we need to correct that. We need to make a change because people are asking us to. I think they need to stick with what their creative decisions are and roll with that and have guys that have a little bit of guts to see a vision through, right? So, Joe Staten may be that guy with Halo. Not going to necessarily cater to what everybody's just asking or complaining about, but he knows what he wants for Halo. He's a creative, right? So, Halo missing, it's better for Halo in the long run, better for Xbox in the long run. It definitely hurts that launch lineup, and that kind of goes into next topic, right? What is the next big news or event gonna be for Xbox? Personally, I know I'm gonna get a Series X no matter what, unless they came out and said like it's like $1,500 and there's no games coming for it, right? Because I have so much invested into the Xbox ecosystem. I have so many games on there. I enjoy playing my games on the Xbox more than any other platform by far. It's where my friends are. I've had friends that I've been playing with Xbox since Xbox Live started. And I'm going to keep that going. I don't plan on stopping it, right? It's how I've enjoyed playing my games for a long time, ever since I've been an adult, really, So, being that we know Halo is not here, we know they can't, unless they announce a beta or something, coming around launch, there's not much that they can show, really, for Halo, because they're hard back at work at that game now. They're making some changes. They're doing some stuff. We don't know exactly what it is. Now, we know that there's the Medium coming. We know that Gears Tactics is supposed to be coming. We know there's Crossfire X. So what are they going to choose to showcase the Series X? Because at this point, with all the narrative going on, they have to showcase something running on a Series X. And that's got to be soon. If they don't do that, then they at least need to come out with a statement explaining why we haven't seen Series X gameplay. Not for me, but for people that keep questioning it, right? So what is going to be this event? So are we going to get just a video with a trailer, that has the price and announcement of pre-order of launch date and that pre-orders are on sale? I think if you're doing that at this point with how the talk has been going on, you at least need to have something big to go along with that. You need some big splash news, right? And there's been a lot of talk about, hey, we got something in the bag for Game Pass that we haven't talked about yet. There's been stuff on Twitter with some insiders, saying that they got something for Game Pass. Phil Spencer himself has alluded to it twice. Once by commenting on a post on Twitter, and once also on Gary Whitta's Animal Talking show. He's alluded to something for Game Pass that we don't know about yet. That is a really great, strong announcement, is what he said. So we know there's something coming around regarding Game Pass. We just don't know what it is. We know that they've also talked about wanting still that they're going to be investing in more studios for Xbox Game Studios team, right? For the family. They're going to grow that. They're not done at 15, where they stand now. So my opinion is what they should do is they should have like it doesn't have to be a long thing, maybe like a 20 to 30 minutes, announce and 2 more games that are in development for Series X with trailers. Maybe show a little bit of that Hellblade 2 gameplay that we didn't get to see and have that running on a Series X. If you put Hellblade 2 actually running on a Series X with the way that that game is potentially going to look, people will stop talking about this, right? Maybe that's why they didn't show it at the last event. They're holding that off for now, for when this next thing is. So announce maybe 1 or 2 more games, you know, show the Hellblade 2 gameplay running on a Series X. Then what's next? You get the Series S announcement. You get price for Series S. Then you get the price for Series X. Then you get the release date. Then at the end, you announce the one more acquisition for Xbox Game Studios or something. That would be like my prototypical what I would like to see from them. And I think if they did that and they announced the price was $3.99 or even $4.99, I think a lot of people would be happy. You know, that would be pretty remarkable of a statement to make in a video to show, and that would get a lot of people hyped and understand why we need to invest in the Series X as a platform, invest in Game Pass, and maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe that's how they'll present it, and I don't think it has to be some like live thing. It can just be released as a video put out there, you know. Okay guys, here it is, pick it apart, you know, and we're confident in it, right? This is what we're gonna do. Now, are they playing chicken with Sony and waiting for Sony to drop their price before they do this? I don't know, but I would hope that they're confident enough in their price that they don't feel the need to. You know, did they want to make sure that Sony isn't going to be $6.99 so that way they don't have to worry about the price as much, right? We'll see. We don't know exactly why they've been waiting so long to announce this stuff, to announce the Series S, to announce the price. But it's got to come soon. It's got to come really soon, according to some of the insiders that have been talking about the chain of events and things. That stuff should be hopefully coming in a week or 2 weeks at the latest. Prediction November 7th for Series X release. I would think you may come out with the Series S around the same time. I don't know if, you know, unless you want to make sure that people get the highest end hardware first and that sells out, then you drop the Series S. I don't know what would be the point of that, you know, but I would want my cheaper console out there competing with the PS5 immediately. And speaking of all this, man, don't you guys just miss E3? You know, like we've had this dripping and drip of news, and it's when there's a gap now, which we've had a gap for a little while now with Xbox, and I think the reason we've had a gap is because of Halo Infinite. I bet by now we would have seen something else from Halo Infinite that was supposed to be in August, and it got erased. That's why they put out that statement that we're no longer doing the 2020 thing, right? Plans changed. Because their plans changed when Halo Infinite got moved. So, but imagine if we had E3 and we had all of this stuff within like, what, a 3-day span? You know, we would have gotten so much more information jam-packed, you know, and we'd have so much to talk about. Usually they announce either the prices then or they have another event like a month after or so to announce the prices, you know. So, man, E3 is heavily missed. I think everybody misses it now, and they see the value of it. I hope Sony sees the value of it. I hope Xbox still sees the value of it. To when the world is back to a place where we can have events like this, then I'm hoping that big traditional Super Bowl feeling E3 is back. That would be awesome. Until then, learn from what DC did with DC Fandom, because that event was freaking cool, man. And how awesome did the Batman look? Like the Gotham Knights also. That's how you reveal a game. You know, you show a trailer and then bam, you go into gameplay and you reveal certain things about the game, showing the gameplay that gives an insight into what the game is, but you don't reveal everything, you don't show everything, it gets people hyped, right? So that's learn from DC fandom, all entertainment industry. If in the coronavirus world right now, that is how you do a digital event. I was heavily impressed with that. Gamescom, I was not heavily impressed with that. They had a couple cool things, to show there. But it seemed like mostly filler, things that were hyped up way beyond what they should have been. The Ratchet and Clank gameplay was really cool, but again, we already saw a large section of that same gameplay. So it wasn't telling us anything new other than this is captured actually running on a PS5, right? And I think that was more marketing than, like I said, than anything else. So I miss E3. I bet you guys miss E3 too. So, do y'all want to see E3 back? I know I do. Now going into the next topic. And this is the final topic. Let's see, this has been going on. It's not too long. I've been going on for about 50 minutes, so that's about normal. Game Pass Game of the Week. So Game Pass Game of the Week. My Game Pass Game of the Week is Wasteland 3. Now, let me go into something else real quick before I talk about specifically Wasteland 3. Regardless of all the talk that's been going on with, gameplay not being shown and all this stuff, what should be talked about more than anything is all these amazing games that are hitting Xbox right now that are hitting Game Pass. I mean, back to back, we've had great games. We have, Flight Simulator, then you had Battletoads, and then you have, I think it's Don't Tell Me Why, or is it Tell Me Why? I can't remember the name off the, it's Don't Not Entertainment, Tell Me Why. You have, and now you have Wasteland 3. And these games are all doing well score-wise. They're all on Game Pass day one. Oh, Spiritfarer is on Game Pass. That's not even an Xbox Game Studios game, right? Just these games, they have hit this past month, like week after week. And they keep doing well. So anybody that says Xbox has no games, look what's come out the last few weeks and just check yourself, Now, I know that Flight Simulator isn't on Xbox yet. It's coming to Xbox, but it's on PC right now, and you can still play it with Game Pass. So, yes, it's still, to me, an Xbox game. Maybe that'll be a launch game on Series X. That would be pretty cool. Now, if they showed Flight Simulator running on Series X, and they showed that with actual gameplay footage captured on Series X at the Series X announcement, would that get people hyped? And if it looked as gorgeous as it does on PC, that would show capability of a machine right there, because they're talking about that as like the next crisis with, how much how demanding it is. So, Xbox has games, and they're gonna have great games, and it's gonna be able to, Series X is gonna be able to run things at crazy performance levels. Like Call of Duty is gonna be at 120 frames per second, on both consoles. So that's just awesome, guys. And so going into Wasteland 3, wow. So I started streaming this game last night, and it was pretty late, so I was kind of tired, but just right away it grabs you. If you're like an old school like PC gamer that played some of these like CRPGs back in the day, or if you played like tactics games like XCOM, or Gears Tactics even, or it's kind of like a breed between a top-down CRPG and a game like XCOM, and it has a really good sense of humor. It has really good music. Sometimes these songs will just start playing in the middle of the battle, and they just create this good vibe, and it kind of happens out of nowhere, and it catches you off guard, and it's like, hey, yeah, I'm kind of digging this, right? And some of the jokes are pretty freaking funny, and they've got some pretty funny games recently with like Battletoads and like in this, and it's nice to have some humor in the gaming world, and they're gonna have even more with Psychonauts 2 coming out and everything. So, this game is really a breath of fresh air because we don't get a lot of games like this, especially on console, and we don't get them at this high quality with this much invested into it. And already inXile said that this game wouldn't be what it is without Xbox, because they invested into them, and it allowed them to do more than what they would have been able to do otherwise. So even though this is a multi-platform game, because it was originally started development before the Microsoft acquisition, this game became what it became partly because of that, and it shows what inXile is capable of developing in the future as a member of the Xbox Game Studios family. And you love to see what they're doing on Twitter with the cross marketing with some of the other developers and talking about their games and stuff. And I so happy that inXile is part of that Xbox family making games for Xbox, and I can't wait to see what their next game is after playing the first maybe hour or so of Wasteland 3. I'm going to get so dug into this game. I'm going to stream a heck of a lot of it. I don't know if I'll be able to stream all of it, because then that might limit my amount of time I can actually play the game. But I am going to stream this game. Again, like I said, it's funny. It's got really good gameplay elements too. So I wasn't even talking about the gameplay, but I was just playing. I was like, hey, I wonder how big of an explosion this barrel is going to make, and so I decided to shoot it, and it's like freaking massive. It's really fun. It has shocking moments that come out of nowhere that catch you off guard to get you entertained, so it kind of sucks you in that way. You don't know what's going to happen next. You have this humor, so it makes you laugh, then it has a shocking moment out of nowhere, and you're sitting there trying to strategize and think all at the same time. And while it's got a story that's a little bit intriguing and kind of getting you invested a little bit, and then if you're really into that strategy kind of game where you like those tactics elements, it's really deep with that as well. So to me, I think Jez Corden of Windows Central said that it's his potential game of the year right now, and I've only played an hour of it. But because of my love for like games like this in the past, and what I'm seeing in this game is so different in a breath of fresh air for me, this could end up being my game of the year. We'll see. It could fall apart. It could get repetitive. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but as of right now, I'm loving this game. And I can't wait to play it tonight. I'm going to be playing it after I'm done recording this, and I'm going to play it on Twitch. So tune in to that if you hear this in time, but you probably won't. So, Wasteland 3, guys, Game Pass. Wow. On Game Pass. Day one. Can't beat that. You can play it on PC or Xbox with Game Pass. Cross save. Progress saves no matter where you play it. So, check it out, please. If you are interested in any kind of game like this. And the beauty of Game Pass is, even if you didn't think you might like a game like this, if you give it a try, you might say, wow, I actually do like this. I didn't think I would, For youngsters out there, there's a lot of language and gore. Okay, they're not afraid to drop the F word. There's a lot of F bombs going on and stuff, and it's so just forewarning out there. But for all you guys that are, old enough and, really advise you to check that game out. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. I would please appreciate any support. If you would like to follow me on Twitter at Fun Speculation, check out my YouTube channel, Fun Speculation, where you can actually catch a video of this podcast when I was recording it. You can also find this podcast on all major podcasting platforms by now. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you again. And until next week, this is Mav. Thanks. Bye.